Alright, so I've been using the Galaxy S25 Ultra as my daily phone for about a week or so. And I've got a lot of thoughts, not just about Android, but the phone as a whole. But for this video, I wanted to focus on what matters most to me as a photographer and content creator: the camera. Now, this isn't going to be some pixel peeping spec breakdown, it's more like a real world camera test. After all, I've only had it for a week, so something a lot more in depth would take a lot longer than that. But I wanted to go ahead and make this video and just show you guys what it's like to actually go out and shoot with this thing, edit the files, and see how it all holds up when you're using it like a creator would. To start things off, shooting with this thing is honestly pretty enjoyable. The S25 Ultra feels great in the hand, balanced, sturdy, and easy to grip. And the camera app is super intuitive. If you've ever used a mirrorless or DSLR setup, Pro mode here is going to feel surprisingly familiar. You'll get full manual control, raw image support, and the ability to really dial in your exposure, white balance, shutter speed, all of it. One thing that bugged me at first was Pro Photo and Pro Video were hidden in the More section of the camera app, but as it turns out, you can actually drag them from the More section to your main selection bar, which is a huge plus for usability. Definitely giving Samsung a thumbs up on that one. I shot mostly in RAW for stills and log for video, just to get the most out of the content as I possibly could. And overall, I was really impressed. The 50 megapixel mode quickly became my favorite for photos. The detail and clarity you can pull from those files is honestly pretty wild. But not everything is perfect. The ultra-wide lens in 50 megapixel mode for whatever reason felt soft at times and had some serious distortion around the edges. You'll notice it most when you're shooting architecture or straight lines. They start to bow and warp pretty substantially. Zoom-wise, the 5x lens was probably the sweet spot, sharp, well exposed, and great color. Editing the raw files from this phone was actually very similar to just editing something from a mirrorless camera or a DSLR. I used my own usual preset pack, which I made, that you can find down below if you're interested, and for the most part was able to get the look I was going for. The way this phone handles shadows was probably the biggest standout. I could really push and darken areas without absolutely destroying the detail or crunching the blacks. The skies were always very well exposed, and color balance stayed consistent across different lighting setups. For video, I shot everything in log and brought it into Premiere Pro. And after applying my conversion LUTs, I was honestly pretty surprised at how usable the footage was. Maybe not quite as clean looking as Apple log, but it looked clean, well balanced, and flexible enough to grade however I wanted. No weird noise, no weird compression, just solid footage that felt professional enough to work with. And even the front-facing camera held its own. Obviously not as sharp as the rear sensors, but for vlog-style clips or casual B-roll, it's totally usable. It handled backlight and harsh sunlight better than I expected. Now, when it comes to low light, this was probably one of the weaker areas. It's not terrible, I got some usable shots, but it wasn't anything mind-blowing either. One thing I noticed is that the phone didn't handle direct sources of light all that well. Sometimes the flares looked smudged, almost like when your lens is dirty. And trust me, I checked multiple times, the lens were clean, they were fine. It just seemed to render flares and glowing lights a bit awkwardly in darker scenes. That said, for typical night settings, like out at a restaurant, bar, or just walking around a decently lit area, you'll still get really solid shots. It's not the best in the game for low light, at least from what I can tell what smartphone is, but it's more than enough for social content or documenting a night out with friends. Okay, I'm not gonna do many of these like live on the field chats, but one of the things I did want to bring up right now is as I'm using the camera on this thing, and just this device in general, is the screen is a lot easier to see and use opposed to my iPhone. So brightness, detail, and that anti-reflective screen is huge in broad daylight, because I'm shooting this pretty much midday, so direct sunlight. It's pretty bright out. There's some clouds, so that's helping a little bit, but right off the bat, that's one of the things I wanted to say was that the screen on this thing is immaculate. I tell you, Samsung's anti-reflective layer on the screen is a game changer. I've always heard Samsung people talking about it, just didn't think much of it. I was able to shoot in bright midday sun and still clearly see my composition, no problem. It made me realize just how hard my iPhone 15 Pro was making me work just to see the screen outdoors. Once I saw this screen in action, I really couldn't unsee the difference. Now here's the wild card that really impressed me. Galaxy AI. AI is all the hype right now, and every phone manufacturer is trying to utilize it somehow. But I will say Samsung actually nailed something here. The Galaxy AI photo tools like the object eraser and the generative edit features feel like you're using a lightweight version of Photoshop, but directly inside your camera roll, which is wild. You can literally just tap and give a general like circle around what you want it to remove, and it will. I've tested it on everything from trash to photo bombers to awkward shadows, and in most cases, it gets it. It's really close to being perfect. Not always flawless, but accurate enough that I didn't feel the need to jump into Photoshop. It makes you wonder though, like what is Apple even doing? With all the hype around Apple Intelligence, it's crazy to me that Samsung has something this refined already working in the wild. You'd expect Apple to be leading in this space of all companies, and honestly, it's been probably one of their biggest letdowns in recent years. Galaxy AI though, it feels ready, and for content creators or photographers who want to clean up their photos on the go, this is a massive win. So after only 1 week of putting the S25 Ultra's camera through its paces, here is where I'm at. This thing is more than just a phone camera. It's a genuinely capable creative tool. Now, is it perfect? No, but in the areas that matter, detail, usability, editing, flexibility, and even mobile AI, it absolutely delivers. I'll be diving deeper into this camera in the coming weeks. I want to put it through some creative challenges, test it in more controlled setups, and maybe even use it as the main camera for a full YouTube video just to see how far I can push it. But for now, those are my first big takeaways. If you're using the phone or thinking about switching, let me know what you'd like me to test next. I'm genuinely excited to see what else this phone can do. But as always, guys, that is enough consuming. Get out there, create something yourself, go take those photos. I will see you all in the next video.